In the dark reaches of the galaxy, fear had a name. The alien fleets were unstoppable, crushing every civilization that dared stand against them, leaving planets empty and silent. Their ships moved like shadows, silent and deadly, and their weapons could destroy entire cities in seconds. No army, no planet, no species had ever survived their wrath. But on a small blue planet far from the main trade routes, humans lived unaware of the storm coming. They farmed, built cities, laughed, argued, and dreamed, oblivious to the power lurking in the stars above. The alien commander, a towering being named Varkan, looked at the galaxy with cold eyes. "Nothing can stop us," he said to his officers. "No one is strong enough to face the Invincible Fleet, and no one ever will survive." His voice echoed through the command deck of the flagship, a massive structure that could house 10,000 soldiers, each trained for war since birth. Meanwhile, on Earth, a human ship left the orbit quietly, its engines glowing with soft blue light. Captain Elena Hart watched the stars ahead with sharp eyes, her hands steady on the controls. Unlike the alien fleets, her ship was small, built for speed and agility rather than sheer power. But inside, it carried a crew of humans who were brave, clever, and determined. They had trained for years, prepared for threats they did not yet fully understand. Back in space, alien scouts noticed the human ship, scanning it with bright sensors. "This is no threat," one alien officer said, sneering. "It is tiny, unarmed, and weak. We will destroy it easily." Varkan's laughter rang across the bridge. "Let them come. They are nothing. Humanity is just another species to fall." But the humans moved with precision, avoiding sensors and dodging patrols. Captain Hart issued quiet orders, and the crew responded like a single mind. "Steady. Now turn left. Accelerate. Hold position," she whispered, each command executed perfectly. Even in the shadows of the galaxy, they were ready, calm, and focused. Suddenly, alarms blared on the alien scouts. The small human ship fired a single pulse, and before the aliens could react, one scout exploded in a flash of light. Shock and panic spread across the alien fleet, the first signs that something was very wrong. Varkan's cold expression tightened. "What is this?" he growled, his voice low and dangerous. "Scan it again. This is impossible. No human should survive our weapons." The humans did not celebrate. They knew this was only the beginning. Captain Hart leaned forward, eyes on the glowing stars. "We can do this," she said softly. "We will make them remember humanity." Her crew nodded silently, knowing every life on their ship mattered, and that they were carrying the hopes of their entire species. As the human ship disappeared into the darkness, the alien fleets could only watch, confused and uneasy. For the first time in their long history of conquest, something had not only survived, they had struck back. And somewhere in the galaxy, the first whispers of fear began to spread among the alien ranks. No enemy had ever survived the Invincible Fleet until they faced a human ship. The stars waited, silent and endless, as two forces moved closer to collision. One driven by conquest, power, and fear. The other driven by courage, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. And in that vast, dark expanse, the first spark of war and hope was about to ignite. The galaxy had never seen humans like this before. From a distance, the small blue ship seemed ordinary, almost fragile. But inside, it held secrets that no alien had ever imagined. Captain Elena Hart stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the endless stars. "Prepare the systems," she said quietly, her voice calm but firm. Her crew moved quickly, checking panels, calibrating devices, and running diagnostics. Every hand on the ship knew their role perfectly, each action precise, practiced, and necessary. The aliens were still confused, their sensors unable to understand the human ship. "This is unusual," Varkan barked from the command deck of his massive flagship. "Analyze its structure. Measure its power. How does it move so fast? Why does it not appear on all sensors?" The officers scrambled, panic rising as their scans returned nothing concrete. It was as if the human ship existed in some invisible space, slipping through their grasp. Meanwhile, the humans activated the hidden technology of their ship. Panels opened, revealing small but powerful energy cores, each glowing softly with blue light. These were not weapons of brute force. They were clever, precise, and deadly in the right hands. "Engage stealth field," Elena ordered, and the ship shimmered, fading from normal sensors. "It's gone," whispered one alien officer, staring at empty space where the human ship had been seconds before. The human ship was there, but almost impossible to detect, moving like a ghost among the stars. The aliens sent a squadron to hunt the mysterious ship. They expected an easy fight, confident that no human could threaten them. But the humans used their agility and technology to stay just out of reach. They struck only when necessary, hitting alien ships at weak points, disappearing before a counterattack could come. On the alien flagship, Varkan's frustration grew. "Impossible," he growled. "How can such a fragile species strike us and vanish like smoke?" His voice shook with anger, a rare crack in his usual confidence. He had never faced an enemy who used intelligence over strength, and that terrified him more than any weapon ever could. Back on the human ship, the crew worked as one. Each member trusted the others completely, understanding that the survival of humanity depended on their skill, courage, and teamwork. "Adjust the energy cores, prepare for the next strike," Elena instructed. Her voice was calm, but everyone knew the tension in the air, the danger waiting at every moment. Even one small mistake could mean destruction. The alien scouts continued to search, unaware that their enemies were watching them. The humans were always one step ahead, predicting movements, exploiting weaknesses, and creating confusion. It was a new kind of warfare, one the aliens had never encountered. And slowly, the first cracks of fear appeared among the alien ranks. For the humans, this was not about destruction, but survival. They fought to protect their home, their people, and their future. And with every clever maneuver, every well-timed strike, they proved that brains could outmatch brawn. The aliens had crushed entire civilizations, but humanity had something no one else had: hope, courage, and cleverness. As the human ship disappeared again into the dark space between stars, Varkan's eyes burned with anger and disbelief. "They are stronger than we imagined," he muttered. "No species should survive this long. Yet they do." And somewhere in the galaxy, a quiet truth began to form. Humans were not weak, fragile, or ordinary. They were a force the Invincible Fleet had never faced. The stars waited silently as the game of shadows and strategy continued. Two forces moving closer to a clash that would echo across the galaxy. One fleet ruled by power, fear, and destruction. The other small, hidden, and brilliant, ready to change the rules forever. The silence of space shattered with sudden fire. For the first time, humans struck directly against the aliens. A small alien scouting squadron had spotted the human ship and moved in, confident and arrogant. They thought it would be an easy victory, a moment of amusement before crushing the fragile humans. Captain Elena Hart watched the enemy approach, her face calm, her hands steady. "Hold formation. Wait for my signal," she commanded, her voice soft but full of authority. The human crew moved as one, adjusting shields, aligning weapons, and checking trajectories. Every eye on the bridge focused on the tiny dots of the approaching alien ships. The first attack came, a wave of energy blasts meant to destroy the human ship instantly. But Elena had anticipated this. With a quiet press of a button, the human ship twisted in space, evading the attack with impossible speed. The alien shots passed harmlessly, exploding far behind, their confidence faltering. "Now," Elena shouted, and the humans struck. Small energy pulses shot out from hidden cannons, hitting weak points on the alien ships. One scout exploded in a brilliant flash of light, debris scattering into the void. The other alien ships tried to counterattack, but the humans moved with skill and precision, striking, then disappearing like ghosts. The alien commander Varkan roared from his flagship. "Impossible! How can such a small ship destroy my scouts?" His officers scrambled to respond, sending more ships, more firepower, but the humans never stayed in one place. They predicted the attacks, avoided traps, and struck exactly where it hurt them most. Every move seemed impossible to the aliens, and fear began to spread among the once confident crews. Back on the human ship, the crew worked tirelessly. "Shields at 40%. Divert power to engines," one officer called. Keep firing at the weak spots. Don't stop, another shouted. Captain Hart's eyes were fixed on the approaching flagship sensors, analyzing every move. Her mind raced, but her body was calm, ready for the battle that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. The first alien ship that survived the attack fled, carrying warnings back to the main fleet. It was the first time the Invincible Fleet had ever been forced to retreat. Varkan's eyes widened in disbelief, rage mixing with fear. "This is not possible," he muttered, his voice trembling. "Humans should be crushed by now. And yet, they fight." Even though the humans had won this small battle, they did not celebrate. Every officer knew this was only the beginning. "This is only the first clash," Elena said quietly. "The real fight is coming, and we must be ready." Her crew nodded, understanding the weight of their mission. They were not just fighting for themselves, they were fighting for all of humanity. In the darkness of space, the first sparks of a war burned brightly. The humans had proven that cleverness, courage, and teamwork could beat brute strength. The aliens had underestimated them, and that mistake would echo through the galaxy. No one had ever survived the Invincible Fleet until humanity showed its power. The stars waited silently as two forces prepared for the next move. One fleet built on fear and domination. The other small, hidden, and brilliant, ready to change the fate of the galaxy forever. The galaxy trembled as the full alien fleet began to move. After the loss of their scouts, the Invincible Fleet could no longer ignore humanity. What was once seen as a weak species was now marked as a serious threat. On the massive alien flagship, Commander Varkan stood in silence, staring at the hologram of the human ship. His claws clenched tightly, his pride wounded for the first time in centuries. "Send the main fleet," he ordered coldly. "Erase them completely. Leave nothing behind." Thousands of alien warships activated their engines at once. The space around them glowed with red and purple light as they jumped toward human territory. This was not a warning. This was an execution. On the human ship, alarms began to sound, low and urgent. Captain Elena Hart looked at the incoming data, her expression serious. "They are coming," she said calmly. "All of them." The bridge fell silent as the crew understood what that meant. This was no longer a small fight. This was survival. The human ship was small compared to the massive alien armada. One human ship against hundreds of alien warships. The odds were impossible. Yet no one on the bridge asked to retreat. "Begin Phase 2, Elena ordered. Hidden systems activated deep inside the ship. New energy patterns formed around the hull, bending light and space. The ship's engines hummed louder, stronger, faster. The humans were ready to fight smarter, not harder. The alien fleet opened fire without hesitation. Thousands of energy beams tore through space, turning the battlefield into chaos. Explosions lit the darkness like artificial stars. To the aliens, the human ship should have vanished in seconds. But it did not. The human ship twisted and moved in ways no alien ship could follow. It slipped between attacks, used debris as cover, and vanished from sensors again and again. Aliens shouted orders in panic, firing blindly into empty space. "Where is it?" an alien officer screamed. "I cannot lock on," another shouted. Fear crept into their voices, replacing confidence. Then the humans struck back. A powerful pulse shot out, disabling an alien cruiser instantly. Another human strike shattered the engines of a second ship, sending it drifting helplessly. The aliens had never seen weapons used this way. Precise, controlled, and devastating. On the alien flagship, Varkan slammed his fist into the console. "This is madness," he roared. "How can one ship challenge an entire fleet?" But deep inside, he already knew the answer. Humans were not fighting like everyone else. They were adapting, learning, and evolving in real time. Back on the human ship, the pressure grew. Shields down to 30%. Multiple targets closing in. The crew worked non-stop, sweat on their faces, hands shaking but focused. Captain Hart stood firm, her voice steady. "Hold the line. We only need to survive." An alien flagship moved closer, preparing a final, crushing strike. For a moment, it seemed like this was the end. The human ship was surrounded, energy levels dropping fast. Then Elena gave one final command. "Execute the maneuver." The human ship released a burst of energy and vanished in a blinding flash. The alien weapons fired too late, striking only empty space. Shock spread across the alien fleet. Silence followed. The human ship reappeared far from the battlefield, damaged but alive. The crew exhaled slowly, realizing they had survived another impossible moment. They had not won the war, but they had proven something far more important. The Invincible Fleet could be challenged, and humanity would not fall easily. As the alien fleet regrouped in confusion and anger, one truth echoed across the stars. This war was no longer one-sided, and the next battle would decide the fate of the galaxy. The human ship drifted in deep space, damaged but alive. Smoke rose from several systems, and warning lights blinked across the bridge. The crew was tired, shaken, but unbroken. Captain Elena Hart looked around at her team. Every face showed fear, but also determination. "We survived," she said quietly, "and now, we change the fight." Far away, the alien fleet regrouped. Commander Varkon paced across the command deck of his flagship, rage burning in his eyes. "They should be destroyed," he growled. "One ship should not escape us again and again." But doubt had entered his mind, a feeling he had never known before. The aliens began to advance once more, confident in their numbers. They believed humans were running, weak and broken. They were wrong. On the human ship, engineers worked nonstop. They rerouted power, repaired systems, and activated one final hidden program. It was risky, untested in real combat. But humanity had never survived by playing safe. "Elena," an officer said softly, "the system is ready, but we get one chance." Elena nodded, her eyes steady. One chance is all humans have ever needed. The human ship turned and moved toward the alien fleet. Not fleeing, not hiding, but advancing. Confusion spread among the alien commanders. Why are they coming back? Are they surrendering? "Prepare all weapons," Varkon ordered, though uncertainty filled his voice. The human ship slowed down, floating in open space. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the humans activated their plan. A massive signal burst from the ship, spreading across the battlefield. Alien sensors overloaded, screens flickered, and communication systems failed. The alien fleet, once perfectly coordinated, fell into chaos. Ships crashed into each other. Orders were lost. Formations broke apart. "This is impossible," an alien officer screamed. "We cannot see them clearly. Our systems are blind." That was the moment humanity struck. Using the confusion, the human ship launched precise attacks, not aiming to destroy everything, but targeting command ships, power cores, and control systems. One by one, alien vessels went dark, drifting powerless through space. The turning point had arrived. For the first time, the aliens were afraid, not because of raw strength, but because they could not understand how humans kept adapting. Every move the aliens made, humans countered faster, smarter, and better. On the alien flagship, Varkon stared at the collapsing battlefield. "This species learns too quickly," he whispered. "They should not exist." But even as he spoke, he knew the truth. Humanity was no longer prey. They were becoming predators. Back on the human ship, the crew pushed forward despite exhaustion. Shields failed, systems burned out, and injuries mounted. Yet no one backed down. They fought not for glory, but for survival, for home, and for the future of their people. "Elena," an officer said, "the alien fleet is pulling back." The bridge fell silent. "They're retreating," another confirmed, disbelief in his voice. Captain Hart closed her eyes for a brief moment, then opened them. "We did not defeat them completely," she said, "but we showed them who we are." As the alien ships withdrew, damaged and shaken, a new truth spread through the galaxy. The Invincible Fleet could bleed, and humanity was the reason why. The war was not over, but the balance had shifted. From this moment on, the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. And somewhere among the stars, the legend of humanity began to grow. The battlefield slowly fell silent. Broken alien ships drifted through space like lifeless shadows. The once proud Invincible Fleet was retreating, damaged, confused, and afraid. The human ship remained in the distance, scarred but standing. Its hull was burned, systems damaged, and power levels low. Yet it was still alive. Just like humanity. Inside the ship, The crew sat quietly, exhaustion heavy on their faces. They had pushed their bodies and minds to the limit. Every person aboard knew how close they had come to destruction, and how impossible their survival truly was. Captain Elena Hart looked out at the stars, her voice calm, but emotional. "We did not win because we were stronger," she said softly. "We won because we refused to give up." The crew listened in silence, understanding the weight of her words. Far away, aboard the alien flagship, Commander Varkon stared at the remains of his fleet. For the first time in his long life, he felt something new. Fear. The galaxy he thought he controlled had changed forever. "They learn," Varkon whispered. "They adapt. They do not break." The Invincible Fleet had conquered countless civilizations. But humanity had survived, and that made them the most dangerous enemy of all. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. Worlds that once lived in silence and fear began to listen. Stories traveled from system to system, of a single human ship that faced the impossible and lived. Some species felt hope for the first time, others felt fear, but all of them remembered one truth. Humans were no longer unknown. Back on Earth, human leaders received the final transmission. Humanity had been tested, and humanity had passed. Preparations began immediately, not just for war, but for defense, unity, and survival. The human ship returned home slowly, not as a weapon, but as a symbol that humans would not bow, would not disappear, and would not surrender their future. In the quiet halls of the ship, the crew finally allowed themselves to rest. They were not heroes by choice. They were ordinary humans placed in an extraordinary moment. As the stars passed by outside the windows, the galaxy watched carefully. The balance of power had shifted. The age of blind conquest was ending. Somewhere beyond known space, new threats still waited. Stronger, darker, and more dangerous than before. But now the galaxy knew something important. If humanity could stand against the Invincible Fleet, then no enemy could ever be truly unbeatable. And so, a new legend was born among the stars. A legend of courage over fear, of intelligence over strength, of a small human ship that proved one powerful truth. No alien could win until humanity showed its power.